Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are joined by our CEO, Chris Bolton, who is located at our Center of Excellence in Panama, and he's joining us from the boardroom today. How are you doing, Chris?
Yeah, really good. Sorry for changing the location, but we wanted to hit the ground running today. It is November the 25th. We're heading into a long weekend, of course. We have the American Thanksgiving, so wishing all of those friends and colleagues and investors a great and safe long weekend for Thanksgiving. And this is also yet another national holiday for Panama this long weekend, very significant one. We'll share the pictures and what that holiday is all about separately, but we will have the majority of our staff in their traditional Panamanian here, which I think is really super cool as part of our support for the local community here in Panama. So more on that. Over my shoulder, Colleen, are our videos for our previous interviews, of course. I did want to share that with everyone because they may be seeing something pop up on Instagram or Facebook or other media and not know that it's all back on the Sprout AI YouTube channel. And good job, Colleen. There's a few that I see that have over pushing 900 views, and they're only a few weeks old. So nicely done. Good for you. So awesome. With that said, this is our weekend review. What kind of questions did we have this week?
So a lot of people are inquiring about Ivory Medical. As you'll recall, last week we did a press release congratulating both Ivory Medical and TheraCan on the groundbreaking ceremony. So why don't we chat a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So Sprout AI, of course, does have a relationship with TheraCan. That's a long history. But TheraCan has embedded the Sprout AI technology directly into its contracts. And these are 5-year contracts that we've discussed before. The beauty of this relationship, of course, knowing the TheraCan team very well, led by Sean Palter, who has immigrated and relocated to Panama for that purpose, is being able to get these projects on time, on budget, so that we can plan forward with regards to Sprout AI's delivery. Keeping in mind all of the challenges on international shipping with broken supply chains, keeping in mind weather issues, COVID, closure issues, and everything else that is coming at companies these days. We are working very closely with TheraCan to get that dealt with. Now, Ivory Medical's project is in Zimbabwe, for those who don't know. It is a large-scale project. In this case, we're pushing, as we press released, just over 53,000 square feet of operations there. And TheraCan's project was purposely designed to house up to 1,440 Sprout AI habitats. And for those of you who know what our wholesale price is for those units, as we have discussed and released in the past, having passed that through IROC, we'll know the significance of the size of just that one project. Now, in terms of its progression, we did get an update this week, of course, from the TheraCan team, as we always do, that the structure, which we need to be able to house Sprout AI, was completed properly, on time, on budget, and was, of course, being put onto the freight liner, the ocean, to be able to be shipped down to destination. And with the application that they were sharing with us, we were able to watch the boat go down the coastline of Africa, go around the corner, and it will be arriving to port the week of December the 1st. That's the first of 3 shipments, but that's the major shipment. So the good news is that the structure that will house Sprout AI is on the ocean, close to delivery. That's really good. The second big announcement from last week, of course, following our last video, is that they broke ground. They finally broke the ground. With the architect engineer completed the bulk of their work. The contractor was contracted, of course, with all the heavy equipment on site. Has scraped the topsoil off, ready the site for leveling, for the purpose of getting the footings and the concrete poured in advance of the assembly of the final structure. Now, I'm not going to talk about that anymore, other than to know that you will be in contact both with the marketing arm of Ivory Medical, as they have a lot of content to share with us, and they will be sharing the arrival of our Sprout units, the assembly of Sprout units, the production of crops from Sprout. So I'm really excited to know that they have their new website repositioned. There was confusion with regards to address last week, but I understand that is now Ivory Medical Solutions, and that their marketing engine for their social media is coming online tomorrow to keep all of us up to speed as to how that project is moving forward very quickly now. Everyone will be taking a break over the holiday. We all need one. This has been quite the last couple of years for all of us. But the good news is we are starting 2022, working with our partner on that project, which is TheraCan. They are our client, our end user is Ivory. But the good news is that the building is arriving on schedule, will be constructed on schedule, and for that being ready for us when it comes time to deliver our first order of Sprout AI units there.
Brilliant. And that's very exciting. So yes, do make sure that you guys are staying tuned, because we are going to be highlighting the project in their other social accounts too, so that you can stay up to date with it. Now, I know we've got some other exciting news with the pandemic and travel restrictions kind of getting into a little bit of a new norm. We know that our CFO is going to be making his way down to the Center of Excellence next week.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to show we're open for business. And John, of course, is based in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and he will be arriving and be in our office next week. So I hope that you and I will be doing our weekly update with John on that video, as he'll have some updates from us or for us with regards to our annual filings and what else we have coming down the pipe from the CFO's desk. But he'll be able to do that directly from here. Now, again, this shows that it can be done. Any interested investors or large-scale wholesale buyers are certainly welcome to come down and visit our COE. You do require, obviously, to have advance warning. We don't have walk-ins here. We are still very much under COVID. I've taken my mask off temporarily to conduct this interview, but it has to go back on before I can leave the boardroom. And of course, the good news being is that the hotels are open here. The airport and its expansion is open here. So it's very comfortable to move around. The country is in full operations heading into the holiday. So I have to say, we're so far ahead of this time last year. Last year, we were still having to move around with our special cards when we were pulled over by police to explain that we had a right to be able to get to our business for the purpose of operation. Now it's business as usual, and I'm stuck in traffic as we were pre-COVID, sadly. But yes, he'll be here next week to give his impression of how well we're doing on site, which I think is good for everyone to hear, but more importantly, give us an update on the financials.
Brilliant. Well, that's very exciting, something to look forward to, most certainly. Now, I know that we've also had a very busy week because you and I were both in a course. Was it yesterday or was it the day before? But we both. I know, me too. So we both completed our course. So why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Compliance Week had provided a certificate with regards to taking an executive level ESG course. And for those of you who don't know what that is, you should. That's environmental. And of course, it has the social aspect and the good corporate governance aspect, ESG. Now, ESG it's not new. This has been around under very different names over time. But it lines up very cleanly to the UN convention on everything sustainable, trying to get companies to do things better, not just strictly for profit, but do things that ensure that the workers will remain, that they're happy to work and meets their requirements. As we have good working conditions, we're trying always to minimize our impact on the planet in terms of energy use, wastage, trying to recycle as much as possible. More importantly, come up with really good strategies and plans as to how we can show here's where we started and here's where we're going to measure it. And again, that lines very nicely with my training at GE. You can't manage what you don't measure. We love to measure. We measure a lot of stuff. Now, for those of you that have been watching our earlier videos, we are moving from our version 1 Sprout. We have version 1 left on the rack in the upper left-hand corner. So last week, you remember there was still part of row 2 and in row 3. We only have one left. That will be off by today, if not tomorrow. heading into the long weekend. And so moving directly into V2, part of V2 wanted as a goal to find better ways to reduce energy right across the board for all of it. How it's produced, how our vendors are producing, how much energy it uses, how often or how likely would we have to replace parts that are non-recyclable, and on and on and on. My point being is for the last 6 months, we have been marking what we understood to be our footprint. And of course, that will have to go through a fundamental audit, an ESG audit, but set the groundwork, the framework for where are we today, right? Based on easy to measure quantitative lists that we have for sustainability, from top of the company right through to the loading dock. And then from there, what can we honestly improve? And in what time frame? What can we do in a month? What can we do in a quarter? What can we do in a year? So that we can accurately measure and report this over time. Now, we didn't want to overpromise and underdeliver. We wanted to make sure that we could do something that is achievable both for the ground level staff as well as the corporate bank account, right? We were here to make profit at the end of the day, but as I say, balance that against ESG prerogative. So that said, more to follow. But we have at a C-level taken charge of that. We did that very early this year. We did, for example, sit through the 2-hour and participate in the 2-hour CSE, Myers, North and Penny program, not just on which standards to select for tracking your ESG scores and how does that work for audit, how does it go for reporting, but more importantly, how was ESG impacting everything from the Canadian Business Corporations Act to IFRS accounting standards, how that has rewritten how some of the chartered accountants are going to have to report this from an ESG standpoint and score, how the Bank of Canada, for example, has taken this under its wing, and how is that translating in the United States? As we know, we're cross-listing there as well. How is this working in Europe? How is it working in the many other markets that we're looking to venture into, both as a publicly traded company, but as well as an operator? So it was highly dynamic. In our other videos, we've been providing more detail about all that we had to manage for manufacturing. ESG is an entirely different dimension on top of all of that, while we were growing exponentially. So for anyone listening to all this, I hope you can really see how far we've come in a year and all that we had on our plate with very limited resources, both people and obviously investment. But we have maximized use of every single penny and every second to get this in good position to end the year, Chloe. So I'm really excited. We do have a board meeting tomorrow, on Friday, to start the final review process of what we can do for this. And with consensus of the board at C-level down, we'll then be able to implement and begin to report that. So back to you, Colleen. Under the investment page, we do have a section on ESG. But that obviously has to be filled out, and we want to be one of the better companies on the planet, if not the best, on how we communicate that information. So what are your plans?
Well, we know that we're going to be doing a special highlighted section on the website where people will be able to become informed with what we are doing for our ESG initiatives. So make sure that you're also staying tuned. We are planning to do another video in the next couple of weeks where we'll dive deeper into what our ESG plans are going to be and helping get our investors up to date with what we are going to be doing to kind of make a big change in the world for ourselves.
And I think that would also feather in nicely with our competitive matrix, right? So we have been working with third parties. Sadly, many of the third parties don't seem to know how to measure our competitors in our industry. They focus on
being a new industry.
Mergers and acquisitions have they done? Well, these companies are 1 to 2 years old, so the wrong metric. The metric should be how much power do they consume? The metric should be how long does it take them to get set up? The metric should be how easy are they to operate, so you're not having endless turnover of staff, and on and on and on. We're approaching all of it from an ESG perspective, and that should be part of a competitive matrix. Now, I know we've been announcing we'll be issuing our white paper just as we get close to final. We find more input from the market. Please, can you also include this and include that?
Yeah.
which is slowing us down a little bit. But we do want to have the white paper tidied up and out the door before the end of this year, and then use a quarterly basis to update it four times next year if possible. So again, we can show where do we fit in this new industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Why are we doing what we're doing, and perhaps showcase what others simply forgot to do to better exemplify why we're not just better, why we're really different.
Absolutely. And I think that we can even do a video all about that as well. Now, as we come to an end, needing to wrap up, I want to thank you for joining me today. It was wonderful to get to do the recap for the week, and looking forward to keeping our investors updated and informed in the coming weeks.
Always. See you next week. See you with John.
Thanks so much.
Okay, ciao, ciao.
Yes, looking forward to it.
Have a great weekend,
Bye.
everybody. Okay, bye-bye.